Today we're going to do some speculating because everyone loves speculating, and today we're going to be speculating about the new agent. And the reason we're going to do that is because this has started to happen. So this is on Sunset. You can tell by the map here that we're just kind of in the corner of the kind of defender's spawn here. And this thing is appearing, which is a teaser for the new agent. Now, what is this thing, right? What is this? I have absolutely no idea, and this is going to be the basis of some of our speculation. So, you can look at this and say what you want. Your boy Elevated here, said it definitely looks a bit like a teleport anchor. We will see if Riot introduces another game-breaking mechanic via the duelist role in just a month or so. And yeah, it does kind of look like a teleport anchor. I can definitely see that. I think it's unlikely, though, that this would be a teleport anchor. The reason I say that is because, of course, we've already got Chamber, who, does exactly that pretty much. And we have Yoru as well, who also teleports as a duelist. So I feel like the kind of teleport mechanics have kind of already mostly been covered. So I would be surprised if it is another teleport thing because, yeah, it feels like we've already kind of done that. But what else could this be? Well, maybe it is just a teaser, and in fact, if we come to the teaser that, comes along with pretty much every battle pass like we have here, we have the Bulletproof card, which is the card that teases the next agent, and lo and behold, what do you see? You see the same thing on it right there, that same, pattern thing going on, and so what does this mean? It says Bulletproof there as well. That is another clue. Now, just for reference here is some of the other teaser cards we've seen in the game before, right? So here's Sunset and Deadlock. You can see you got Gecko here with the mosh pit inside it. Here's Harbors, right? So you can see the different teasers that, some of them are pretty obvious. You look at Killjoys, that is very much this agent will have a turret in the game, right? This one, obviously very obvious. The more recent ones may be less obvious in terms of what they exactly mean, but this is just kind of the, kind of a basis for what we've seen before. Now, there are some more clues as well, like this teaser for the upcoming agent codenamed Architect has been added to the game, and this is just a little sound file here. Okay, so if you're asking me what that exactly is, I would say that that's probably, getting the ability out and the noise it makes, and then, the noise it makes when you actually use it there, the kind of big sound. That's what I would guess that is. Does that really tell you anything about this agent? Probably not. But we do have the codename Architect as well. And then finally here, Uber Chain figured out that Agent 24 is probably from Singapore. They're eating Uncle Fong's Chongqing Hot Pot Chain. It's very distinct, but the pot looks the same as Uncle Fong's pot. This was probably one of the reference photos the artist used. So this is one of the teasers as well for the new agent. And yeah, you can tell that does look very, very similar to what has been drawn here. And if we scroll down as well, Uncle Fong's chain does exist in places outside Singapore, like Hong Kong. But Uber Chain doesn't think it's Hong Kong because of politics. And the twist is that this is just a restaurant. But there is still the Chinese likelihood because, of the release in China and obviously Masters in Shanghai. But Singapore seems like a possibility. Also, there is this as well, that in the kind of, thing that they released about the new agent that we'll get to in a second, they mentioned enemies like Jing, and Jing obviously is from Singapore. And so this is what they said in that article about the new agent. Now to end the year and one last agent to go. It's almost been 2 years since our last duelist Neon joined the roster, and many of you ego fraggers have been asking for a new one. At its core, Valorant is a team-based tac shooter where gunplay shines. For some of you, that means aspiring to plow through enemies like Jing and putting hours in clicking those orbs with aim trainers for that clean 5k. This next agent is for you. We've also got a little twist you never thought would make it into Valorant. Well, some of you may have been dreaming in the right direction. And so what do I think the new agent will include then? Well, as I said at the beginning, I don't really think it's going to be teleport just because I feel like we've done that already. And despite that thing kind of looking like it could be a teleport anchor, I probably think it's just more of a teaser rather than, hey, this is one of the agent's abilities. But other things I think it could be, and they mentioned, that thing that some people maybe had dreamt about, could be in the game one day, is a bit of Fortnite building. Now, the reason I say building is because obviously the code name was architect. And so what I'm picturing here is something like this kind of sage wall, but mixed with a neon wall, right? So imagine you could put something like this up very, very quick. Maybe it can't be shot, right? Maybe that's the bulletproof side of it. Like, hey, this thing, you know, can't actually be shot, but it goes down on like a time basis, like a neon wall where it just lasts a couple seconds. And the idea is that, you know, you put up like a quick little wall, it can't be shot through, and it allows you to, you know, get to a different angle, right? It allows you to get out of a choke point or something like that, right? Where you can put up a kind of quick little wall and, you know, just go past it, and then, you know, you're out into the actual site itself, and, you know, that's kind of how you use your ability as a duelist. And obviously this might be something that's quite unique, and really there is only Sage right now who, you know, can do stuff like that, and so it would be kind of a new way of doing this, right? Like the duelist version of Sage, if you will, and allows you maybe more options than you would have with Sage, right? Whereas with Sage you can only do a wall, maybe you can position this in a lot of different ways with the duelist instead, and that would obviously fit the kind of architect, maybe even fit the bulletproof style as well if you couldn't actually shoot it at all. But the other direction I'm theorizing is more of a kind of Raina style, where, you know, they talked about putting hours into clicking those orbs with aim trainers for that clean 5k, you know, kind of focused more on the gunplay and, you know, kind of focused more on that, you know, more kind of like a Raina in a way, and maybe the bulletproof thing is more to do with the kind of, you know, you get a kill like Raina, you know, after that you can become invulnerable for a second, whatever that might be, right? Maybe you become bulletproof for a second, so instead of like Raina where, you know, you take an orb and you dismiss out, you know, maybe you just get a brief window of, you know, you can't be shot instead, right? You can't be traded when you get that kill, and you can still actually shoot back, right? Something like that. That might be a bit too strong, to be honest, particularly in ranked, but, you know, whatever. You know, something like that also seems to fit somewhat with the things that they are saying in this. But then again, I'm having difficulty sometimes marrying, like, where would architect come into that, right? Like, what does the architect part have to do with it? I don't know. So those were just some of my theories about, you know, just some of the clues we've got. And I just love speculating about what the next agent might be and trying to guess, like, what kind of things haven't they really explored or maybe need to, you know, continue to explore? And that is often a good way of figuring out what a new agent is going to be. Like Deadlock for Sage, right? I had mentioned before that many other agents, right? Like Sova for Fade, you know, Harbor for Viper, right? We'd had a lot of agents coming out that are somewhat similar to maybe another agent, but just kind of different direction, different twist on it. You know, obviously Deadlock for Sage was another version of that. Maybe this is going to be that kind of thing for a Raina, right? Where it's just kind of like Raina, but with a different kind of direction on that idea. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I'm sure that between us, we can probably actually get pretty close to what might end up happening.